Alright, hi everyone. Definitely a different setup today. I'm in the living room. I'm sitting at the table because it's kind of a gloomy day and my room is just not bright enough. The lighting is not good, so I'm filming out here instead since I'm also home alone. And I wanted to do my makeup for the day instead of doing it at night like I usually do, even though I prefer it at night because I can use my lamps and it gives it a warmer lighting and I prefer that. This one's just too, I feel like I blend in, especially since I'm wearing a gray hoodie, sitting on a gray chair with a very sad wall. So I put my vision board here, one of my vision boards. But yeah, basically I just wanted to kind of like talk just a little bit, no topic in mind per se. I just been going through a bit and I wanted to do a video on it just to kind of document it a little bit for myself. Oh yeah, also I did my lashes. So I was influenced on TikTok. I keep seeing like clusters and I decided to buy them. I got the faux Windia California Sunset. I think that's what it's called. And I don't know how I feel about it. I think I'm just not used to lashes. If you guys know, I don't really do lashes. And all my makeup stuff, I just do mascara. I don't wear lashes because I don't know how to wear lashes, but these are like super easy to put on. So I love that. I think I'm just not used to it. That's another reason why I didn't do my makeup at night. I did my lashes like yesterday evening. I slept with them on just fine, except this very last lash fell off last night because my eyes got teary from me yawning a lot. It's the only issue I had with them so far. So far they look really nice if you're looking at them, looking up at them from down below. But if I like look straight on, I don't know if they look cute. I think I need makeup to complete it, so that's what I'm doing. Also, very minor difference. I have my old set of glasses back. These are actually a new pair. These are my backup in just the same frame. I got it from Zenny Optical. The one that I really like broke. I broke them and I bought new pairs, so hopefully they come here soon. I'm kind of upset because I paid for 1 to 4 days of shipping and it's been more than 4 days. And I paid extra for that. And I need my glasses, you know, like glasses people. The glasses do so much for how you look. These are really nice. I get lots of compliments on them, but these are no longer my style anymore just because it's a little bit too thick at the top. They're very cute though. I definitely like them because I wore them from I think 1.5 years before I changed frames. So yeah, let's just get started. Get my music going. I haven't done my skincare, so I'm gonna do that like usual. Oh my gosh, I feel like so much has been going on. I don't even know where to start. Luckily, I did loosely draft some notes. First thing I put down is my struggles. I've been struggling so much these days. I don't know if I've talked about it before, but I write my own songs. I feel like that's kind of cringe to say. I've been working on my original songs. I love the two that I came up with out of these emotions. Like, that's based off my struggles. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so obsessed with them. I feel like that's very like narcissistic to say, but I think they're good, and I think they're good because it's emotions I'm actually feeling in the moment, and it was a good way for me to talk about it, I guess sort of externally without involving actual people in my life. And these songs I haven't played for anyone, so they don't know what's going on. And one of the biggest struggles of my struggles is I feel like I can't talk about it to anyone without upsetting people and without being judged for having these struggles. And I think that's why I wrote a song and now I'm doing a video on it, just because it's really like eating me alive and I feel like I'm gonna die. But yeah, so I might have briefly mentioned it. I don't know, it's been so long since I last done a video. I actually filmed 2 talking videos that I did not edit and I did not upload. And I think I'm gonna keep it that way because they're very vulnerable videos about my dating life. And it's kind of embarrassing. It's very embarrassing, and that's why I'm not posting it. I don't even want to edit it because I know it's embarrassing. But it was a good way for me to sort out my emotions in the moment. So that's good, you know, it's kind of what I do these for. Basically, juggling everything at once. I got to juggle work, school, and taking care of my siblings. I might have mentioned it just because this has been a problem in my life for a while now. With context, because without context, I feel like kind of hard to understand, kind of hard to relate to. So for context, I moved out of my college city to live with my family, and because of that, I haven't been able to go to school. The first semester that I moved, I did online classes. I was able to find some classes that I needed online, and I just took other random online courses to get the amount of units I needed for the semester to qualify for financial aid, as well as to raise my GPA, because I have a really low GPA, I'm not even gonna lie. And then since I moved, I had to give up my job. Oh my gosh. I'm looking in my bag and I don't have my moisturizer. It's been missing for 2 days now. It's the Beauty of Jilson cream. It's okay, we'll make do. Anyways, I loved my job, but I had to leave it, which was very depressing. And ever since I left, I haven't gotten a new job until recently, which I don't love as much, and I want to do something similar to my old job, so we'll see. But before that, like, my family was kind of like on me to get a job, and I'm like, I understand. But in the city that I moved to, it's really hard to find a job. Everybody that I talk to they all have problems finding a job. And it's just crazy. Like, it's really hard. I don't know why it is so hard. But yeah, I have a job now. And at the same time of all of this, I am taking care of my 2 younger siblings. I take care of them because, first of all, I didn't have a job. So that was my job, to take care of my siblings. And then now I don't go to school, so I don't really do anything, which I don't mind, you know, because I am just home. I have nothing better to do, so I help out, you know. And my older sister, she works full time, so she doesn't really help out as much anymore. Because I have those 3 things on my plate, I really felt pressure to do well in all areas. Now, I was constantly kind of told, like, you don't have to do well in all areas. It's not possible. But with a big family, you get so many different opinions. My siblings, that's kind of what they said to me. Like, you can't do it all. And I had to give up something. But with my parents, it's like, it kind of felt like I had to do it all. In one of my videos, my video about being like Asian American, I talked about how much my family values education. So now that I'm not going to school, my parents are kind of like asking me what's my plan, which is kind of, I don't want to say an upsetting question, but it's like I had a plan, but because of so many, oh my gosh, issues, I couldn't go to school anymore. And I love my school. I really love my school. Some people might think it's a basic school, but I fell in love with my school once I changed my major to philosophy. And I want to be able to graduate from there. Like, it feels like home to me. Like, you guys don't even understand. Oh my gosh. The connection I have in my school is crazy. I don't know why it's such a deep relationship. It's just a school. But oh my gosh. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it might be because of my emotional ties to it. Once I changed majors to philosophy, my life was getting kind of complicated, and a lot of the time I spent at school is the only time I had for myself. I promise I'm not gonna cry. Oh my gosh, I just love my school. It's the only time I really had to myself. Like, I felt like myself and I liked my classes. It brought me happiness. So maybe that's why I'm so attached to my school. Like, I grew to love the campus a lot. I don't explore it as much, but it's a small campus. I definitely spent a lot of time there my later years compared to my first 2 years. First and a half year of school there. My first and a half year of school, I didn't really care for school. I would try to leave as soon as possible, but because I live like 30 minutes away, sometimes the commute is even longer with traffic, I've learned to use up my time there wisely, especially since my job, it required a lot of like kind of remote tasks, I guess. Sometimes I would stay after school to do my job just because I wouldn't have enough time to drive home. And I don't know if this is the same with you guys, but I don't think I can ever work from home, like work remotely. Just the atmosphere makes it hard to do your job. That's another reason why I didn't really go home. If you guys don't know, I have a baby. At the time, it was definitely hard to get things done because it felt like the moment I got home, I'm on mom duty and I can't do anything. I couldn't do homework, I couldn't do my job, and that's why I spent so much time at school, because then nobody could really bother me about that. It's not that I don't like being a mom. At the time, my partner of then, we both agreed that he would take care of the baby since he did not go to school at the time, and he only had a job that wasn't even a lot of hours a week, so that's what we decided on. For that reason, because I had like lots of homework, lots of work, I would spend time at school to get it done rather than coming home and not getting it done. So I guess just the amount of time I spent at school is what made me fall in love with it. Oh my gosh, I did not expect to talk about my school for this long. Like, it was supposed to be just a short segment. Anyways, my whole point is that it feels like home to me almost. I visited it recently and it was such a nice feeling. I miss going to school in person. I miss the campus. I'm not a very social person, so I was never involved in any clubs, any sororities, no school events. Not really my thing, but it was definitely nice to just be back there in person, which is something I'd like to do again. I feel like maybe people won't understand me, especially my family, because my parents keep trying to get me to continue school here, and my answer to them is that, well, I don't want to go to school here because, first of all, I definitely looked into the programs here and I don't think they have what I wanted, which is why I didn't continue looking. And the other thing is for my financial aid, if I wanted to receive aid for a different school, if I was going to a different school full time, then I would have to basically, I don't know what the right word is, I'd have to stop attending Sac State officially. That's my school. In order for me to be able to go to a different school, right? And I don't want to do that just because it sounds like a lot of work and I don't really know how to deal with stress, which is kind of a bad sign. I should probably work on that. But yeah, I don't really know how to deal with stress, so the whole idea sounds kind of stressful. I've considered transferring to a different school that my siblings go to. That way, at least I'm still with family and it's less of a struggle. If you guys don't know, housing is so difficult as a student. And the fact that I have a daughter makes it even harder because I don't want to burden any roommates with that. So I feel more comfortable just rooming with family. I've never roomed with strangers before ever. As well. The thing on school, I've considered it a lot more, and although it's not ideal, I think I'm just going to have to take a longer break from school, which means I would have to like kind of like stop being a student at Sac State. I don't even know what the proper steps are. I need to look into it. I feel like as long as I don't go to a different school, I can always come back. Something like that. I don't remember. I could totally be so wrong. But that's the plan. Until I can be able to go to Sac State again, then I won't go to school. Which I don't think my parents are happy with. I think they want me to finish school as soon as possible, but I want to do something I love and they don't really agree with my philosophy degree. My mom doesn't think it's practical, but I've talked about it before. I chose philosophy because I feel like it would make me a better person, which might not sound like a good idea because you're going to college for a career, right? I went in kind of not knowing what I want to do with my life. I don't know what I want to do as a job. You know, if you push someone who's unsure into a college and they get started and they're constantly changing their major, they don't know what they're doing, eventually you will run out of time if you're on financial aid like me, because you only get help for 6 years to get your bachelor's from FAFSA. I think so. So you do kind of have like a deadline of like when you need to finish school. For that reason, it's really hard to like clearly think about what you want to do. But at the same time, constantly changing is what helps you realize what it is you actually want to do. I really encourage people to try different GE classes that might sound exciting or interesting to you, because that's how I found out I wanted to be a philosophy major. And so I feel like it's a little bit too late to change majors once more and start all over, because oh my gosh, like the amount of classes you need to take, it's a lot. Sure, I should have thought about it more carefully, but it is what it is. I encourage people to go to college when they're ready. I feel like if you're unsure of what you want to do, then you're not going to enjoy the college experience. You're going to hate classes. You're going to not want to go. You won't have any passion for it. And that's even worse than, I feel like that could be worse than not attending at all. Because it's so expensive. It's definitely very expensive. And you gotta invest a lot into it, a lot of time. And so if you don't even like it, then it's gonna feel like a waste of time and energy for sure. So I think it's best to go when you have a better understanding of what it is you want. Which I kind of do. Like, I want to become a teacher, and my mom is always like, how are you gonna become a teacher with a philosophy degree? And I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm just hoping, based off my research, you can get a teaching credentials in many different ways. So I'm pretty confident I can. Sure, it'd be more ideal if I majored in the subject that I wanted to teach, or like something that's like aligns more with education. But then again, I chose philosophy to better myself, and I feel like it definitely did. I don't understand philosophy all the way, which is kind of sad, but it has changed my way of thinking a little bit. I just want to become a better person, and if I'm going to college so much, then I decided to use my time on it. I wouldn't say I regret my decision on that. I love philosophy. I had a philosophy professor that I absolutely loved. He was such a great professor. Too bad his class was way too hard and I failed it, so I took him twice, which I don't regret because that's how I got to know him even better. Okay, that is so long in school. I did not expect it to be that long. But anyways, that's all to just say, like, I feel all this pressure to do well in that area and taking care of my siblings. Just to quickly touch on that. If you're not an older sibling, then you probably wouldn't understand the amount of pressure older siblings get sometimes to be a role model, to be a role model for the younger siblings, to take care of them sometimes when parents can't, to just kind of always be there. I really feel for all older siblings out there because you shouldn't have to be a second or a third parent to your siblings because that is not your role at all. I feel even worse for the older siblings who are a parent to their parent. Like, that's very embarrassing to whoever the parents are. That's what I feel like about that. It's a difficult decision to make when your parents aren't around because they're constantly working in order to give you and your siblings a better life. There's that guilt I feel like most older siblings have that comes with a sense of responsibility. Like, at least for me and maybe some other people, it's hard to be upset at your parents when some of the things you have in life is definitely because of how hard they work. And it's like, if they're providing for me, the least I can do is take care of my siblings. Even though it comes with a lot. I feel even worse for the older siblings who are still in high school, maybe middle school, and they have all of that responsibility because you're only a child. And you shouldn't have to go through all that and feel that at such a young age. It's tough. It's hard. That sense of responsibility that feels like as an older sibling, it's hard to put yourself first sometimes because your younger siblings come first. And I really feel for my older sister because this sort of responsibility on her for most of her life has affected her a lot as a person, and it makes me feel bad. And I'm not gonna lie, when I was younger, I definitely took advantage of the fact that that's her responsibility, so I didn't really care for it. I didn't really help out just because technically I didn't have to. Now, one of the things that she used to do a lot when we were younger is she would always let oh my gosh, I don't even know why I'm getting like emotional over this. It's not a big deal. She would always let my younger siblings, the younger they are, then she prioritizes them more. It's like such a simple thing, but I guess coming from an Asian household, it's like food is kind of like a sign of love. It's like it has so much to do with love when it comes to food. So my older sister, she always makes sure that my younger siblings get to eat what they want. They get to eat as much as they want, and if she doesn't get to eat a lot of it, she doesn't mind, right? Why am I getting teary-eyed? Oh my gosh, it's not even a big deal. But it's just that, like, it makes me feel bad because I feel like for a while she doesn't have much of an identity besides an older sister because that's such a big part of her life, such a big role, right? She's kind of still doing it, and it makes me feel kind of bad just because I have my own struggles, so I can't imagine like how it is for her. Just simple things like that. Like, she always thinks of the younger siblings. And I guess a part of me when I was younger, I was a little offended that she didn't care about me at all. Like, she literally did not care about me at all. Never cared. To be fair, we're 2 years apart. So to her, I'm like, I'm old enough to do whatever. I can take care of myself. I don't need her to take care of me because I'm like 2 years younger than her. I was never too offended that she didn't care for me because it's true. I didn't need her to care for me. So that's on older siblings. That kind of leads into my next topic. I think I already said it, but I'm gonna say it again. It makes it really hard to find time for yourself, and you feel guilty sometimes for doing it because it affects everyone else in the house, and it's like, it's just not a nice feeling. So I say this because recently I took a night off of being an older sibling. I take a night off of that, and I did a little bit of something for myself, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really think of anybody else. I just thought about myself. Like, I wanted this, and it felt nice, so I didn't care. I went for it anyways, and I did it. It affected a lot more people than I thought it would, and my siblings and I, we had a whole talk about it. It was kind of an emotional talk. But to be fair, before that, there was already a lot of like build up, a lot of like emotional tension. And I think me doing that was just like the last straw. It made me feel so guilty. I felt very guilty for what I did because of how it affected my two younger siblings that I'm currently taking care of. And I didn't even know that they felt that way because, I don't know, kids these days, sometimes some people, they just don't really speak the truth. They don't really say what's on their mind. I guess my younger siblings, they're a little bit more quiet when it comes to these deeper emotions. They keep to themselves and they do a really good job at it. That I didn't even think about it because they do such a good job at it, and I feel really bad that they even know how to do that at such a young age. But we had like a very open, raw talk, and it made me understand things a little bit more. But in the moment, while I was away putting myself first, and when I came home and I realized everything that has happened, it kind of ticked me off a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. In the moment, it's like I really couldn't do anything for myself without it affecting so many things, and I was upset. Like, I take one night off and there's all these problems. I felt like I couldn't do anything for myself without upsetting the family. That ticked me off because it already feels so suffocating, not being able to do a lot, especially because I can't go to school right now, and my schedule revolves around my younger siblings' schedules because they go to school and that's a set schedule. It just makes my life really hard. And again, you know, I don't have to do this. People might be like, you're an adult, you can make your own decisions, you can move out and stuff like that, but financially I can't, and because of my daughter and all my situations, I can't, which is why I feel very guilty for wanting all these things, feeling all these things, when I financially can't do it yet, and I'm living pretty much for free under my parents' roof, and all they ask for me is to take care of my younger siblings. It's a horrible feeling. Like, oh my gosh, when I tell typically strangers how like I can't do certain things, they find it very surprising. They're like, you're an adult, you can totally do it. But it's probably because partially the Asian household and the way I grew up, there's just a sense of obeying your parents. You still gotta listen to them, especially if you're living with them. You know, it's just like, you listen to them. It's their house, you know, you're still with them. So that's kind of how I feel, and it's hard because my parents and we don't always see eye to eye. Oh my gosh, I look so white on camera. I swear I'm not this pale on camera. Oh my gosh, that looks scary. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it to sum it up. I did not expect this part to take up so long because I have so much more to talk about. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to add before we move on. I think that's it. Just like having to deal with all of that at once makes life very difficult at the moment. I recently had my first panic attack. I think it's my first ever panic attack. I don't remember having a panic attack in the past. So my panic attack, I would say, is completely unrelated to what I was talking about. I drove for about an hour, which helped clear my mind, and that's one reason why I like driving so much. Just the feeling of it, specifically freeway driving when there's like no stops, and like it's very easy to drive like that and then just make basically a U-turn when you exit, and then you exit again onto the freeway. It's very easy. So that's kind of what I did, and it was definitely helpful. I did it in the middle of the night, so I was tired afterwards and in the morning when I didn't get enough sleep. And that is just goes to say, kind of like, because it was panic attack I had was a result of like my issues before I moved with my family. Am I happy? I'm definitely happier than I was about a year ago. It's just hard because my family doesn't completely understand me. Like, every single family member, I don't think there's a single member who understands me, which is, I feel like, a little normal. It's very easy to tell when I've disappointed my parents. My parents are very, I would say, when it comes to certain things like this, they're pretty open with how they feel about it, and they definitely try to be supportive. There are so many moments in the past where they've been supportive, and I can't appreciate it enough. Coming from pretty traditional Asian parents. I just want to say thank you for that, because I see my peers and cousins who have a different life because their parents aren't that open or supportive. I can also tell when my siblings think of me a certain way. It's just hard being around family sometimes. As much as you love them, as close as you guys may be. But my family members, it's hard for them to understand me, and I feel like they can easily judge me because they're really good people. That's why we don't see eye to eye. I don't think I'm a good person on the same level as them, at least. And I don't know why I still look as white as a ghost, but I'm done with my makeup, so I'm just gonna talk. In my growing up as an Asian American daughter or something like that video, I talked about how different I am from my siblings and how I feel like the black sheep of the family. And so that just makes it harder for them to understand me, because I do certain things that they would never ever do. This is definitely a better life for me than my previous life a year ago. Although I'm still struggling, I would choose these struggles over my struggles I had a year ago. The struggles I had a year ago were 1,000 times worse than right now. So I am not complaining about that, at least, because these struggles, at least I have a better grasp of it. I kind of have solutions. I'm working my way around it. I'd rather work with these struggles than my struggles I've had in the past. And I say this, I believe I'm happier. You can just tell when you're happier. You can tell when you start to love life again. And I feel that with me. A part of me wishes I don't forget the past, just so that I don't go spiraling down the same road. This is a very, very like random thing to say, I guess, but it helps me like see that I've actually become better and I feel more positive, because you know, you have like saved collections on social media, right? So for my TikTok collections, I have a bunch, and back when I was in my previous relationship, I had one that was just a lot of like very depressing relationship stuff, and that was like kind of the cause of all of my problems at the time on my relationship. And so I would constantly save TikToks to that collection, and my algorithm was just full of very depressing things. I haven't visited that collection. I haven't had a single TikTok like that. I haven't saved anything to that collection ever since I left my relationship. And I feel like that's just a lot. And I didn't even realize it until a couple months ago. I've been saving TikToks to more positive collections that I have. So because of that, I really want to focus on myself. Doing my 2 videos on my dating life has helped me realize that I don't want to date, and you know, utilize your resources. So I've been talking to ChatGPT a lot. I know it sounds kind of funny, but I know everybody does it. Not everybody. A lot of people do it. A lot of people use this ChatGPT for this, you know, for advice, just to talk. And it really helps me sort my thoughts out, because I was in a bad relationship. I've kind of lost a sense of how to gather my thoughts, how to really sort out my emotions, how to speak up for myself. And so when I'm like faced with a very direct negative situation or a very stressful one, I'm not good with dealing with stress because of my previous relationship. Anything that's too stressful, right away, I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to go about it. And everything that I felt or thought about that situation disappears the moment I'm like either confronted with that situation, or it becomes like a big thing. Like all of a sudden, I don't know how to think, I don't know how to talk, and that is crazy. But that's something I'm still working on. Where was I even going with this? I didn't write it down. I totally freestyled that, and I had to like change videos. Oh my gosh, what was I going with it? Oh yes, dating. So, and talking to ChatGPT. So because of that, I talk to ChatGPT a lot about my issues. It helps sort them out, organize them, and clarify my thoughts for me, which sounds kind of like crazy. Like I feel like some people might think like you should be able to do that yourself. But as someone who came from a bad relationship and has lost all skills to do that, I love ChatGPT for it. So I talk to ChatGPT a lot, and I talked to ChatGPT about my dating life too. I've kind of known all along that I don't really want to date. I feel like right after my relationship, I was seeking a relationship because I was in such a long-term relationship. It was almost 3 years, and just that absence of the person in my life, it felt weird. I wasn't used to it. I felt like I needed someone else in my life, and I needed that love, because I had also lost all abilities to love myself, and I was seeking that from a relationship. So I think that's why right after my relationship, I was going on dates a little bit because I was unsure of what to do. But after a couple of months now, almost a year, I've realized that that's not what I actually want at all. Especially since I've had so many bad dates recently because of the simple fact that I did not want to be there. That already made it bad. And I feel really bad for wasting those people's times, because I wasn't sure of what I wanted. And it sounds like a horrible thing to say. And it is. I just want to focus on myself for that reason. I want to be able to like give myself love again. And the last time I loved myself so much that I didn't care for anybody else was in high school. Towards like, I guess my junior year, nearing the beginning of my senior year, that's when I was so happy. I loved myself so much. I didn't need anybody else. And I remember just feeling so positive. And I'm starting to feel the same way again. My social battery is drained a lot. And for someone who doesn't really like to socialize, someone who's a little bit more introverted, that kind of tells me something, you know? I feel bad because it's a lot of work to keep up connections, right? But I would just rather focus on myself. And I'm not gonna lie, I've lost touch with like some new connections that I've made for this reason, but it doesn't bother me because they're so new. So it's like if they choose to leave, then they choose to leave, just because I want to use most of my time for myself. And that's why I can't right now in this stage of my life. I don't really like people who want to text all day long or wanting to call, wanting to hang out all the time. For me right now, that's very stressful. That's kind of what I realized, like I don't want a relationship, because if you get into a relationship, you have to invest a lot of time for that person, and I don't want to invest in time to other people. So right now, the relationships, every single relationship in my life that works is the people who kind of keep their distance, you know. That works great for me. I don't need to have a super close relationship with anyone, just because as someone who kind of likes being alone, that's kind of overstimulating. That's another reason why I can't really go on dates, just because I feel really bad. Like, I know you're trying to get to know each other, but my energy runs out so fast, and the time I put into it just isn't as much as the other person. People have called me out on it, and I warn people before I start talking to them, like, hey, I have a really low social battery, by the way. And most people get that, you know? So I have a really bad habit of not replying to texts for a couple of days. I see it in my notification center, I read it, and then I think of a response, but I don't actually respond, and I just forget about it for days. Even when I really liked this one guy, I wouldn't reply to him just because I forget about it. And I feel kind of bad for that. But at the same time, it's like nice because I don't have to keep up with that level of socializing. And a lot of people understand that, and I appreciate them so much. I wrote down about focusing myself that I tend to realize these type of things when I'm completely alone doing my own things, and typically when I'm out. That's one reason why I liked going out on dates so much, because it was sort of an excuse for me to get out of the house, get away from all my struggles that I talked about earlier. It's just a nice way of me to briefly be by myself for a moment. I recently went on a couple of dates, and I had to drive 2 hours. No, I had to drive an hour there instead of an hour back, so a total of 2 hours. And personally, some people might be like, wait, no, I drove 2 hours there, 2 hours back, so a total of 4 hours. Some people might not do that, but for me, I did it anyways because it wasn't for the date or the person. It was the driving, because as someone who loves driving, I didn't mind it. It was a perfect way for me to drive long distance. When I drive, that's when I think to myself a lot. I was excited for that. And I was just excited to be in a different city to kind of explore. But as someone who has a low social battery and who's an introvert and who doesn't really like people, it's scary to do things alone sometimes. I'm trying to like do that more often. I'm seeing more people do it, and so it makes me feel a little bit better. I want to go on solo dates more, but it's just scary sometimes. Going on these dates with people, it makes it less scary. Sure, they're strangers, but you know, we're doing things together. And so that was also kind of like a nice way of me to kind of get out of my comfort zone. And it's so hard for me to make friends. I've talked about this a little bit here and there throughout my videos. It's hard for me to make friends because of my past relationship. I was limited to a very pretty much non-existent social life. My partner at the time didn't like the idea of me going out with friends. Even when I went out with my cousins, that was a problem. And so over time, I just stopped hanging out with friends. I didn't even bother to make friends because if I did, it'd be suspicious all of a sudden. And so it sounds kind of sad. I don't know how to make friends. It's hard and it's scary. And I feel like some people relate. Like, as an adult, it's scary and hard to make friends a little bit. That's another reason why I go on dates. It's just easier to go out with people in that way. I don't want it to be like something people pity me of, like, oh, like that's sad. Like, I'm also not actively looking for friends because my social battery is already low. You know, friendships, just like romantic relationships, take a lot of time and a lot of energy, and I don't necessarily have that time and energy to invest in friends right now. I have my long-term friends from my like school days that I'm still in touch with, and oh my gosh, that's already good enough for me. Like, it already drains me out just a little bit. Sure, I could like get closer to someone, but when it comes, it all comes. I feel like things like that should happen naturally, right? I think that's it for that topic. So the last thing that I have, I know this video is so long, being a mom. This is something I don't tell everyone right away. Like, I don't tell strangers this right away, and I keep it pretty private. I don't like to put it all over social media. I have a couple videos of me being a mom. My daughter appears in a couple videos. Other than that, I don't really put her out there too much. That's for a couple of reasons. The first one is her privacy. When it comes to complete strangers that I'm meeting in person, I would just rather not bring it up right away. Now, I appreciate my new job. I told them about it, and they're cool if I bring her to work sometimes, but I don't think I would do that because it's not really ideal. I already talked about how hard it is working remotely. This is something that isn't typically a problem, but for the past couple of dates, I usually tell the person I'm going on a date with either before or on the first date that I have a kid. If we're just talking and it doesn't go anywhere, then I wouldn't bring it up, just because I feel like it's not necessary. And it's not because I'm ashamed of being a single mom. It's more of like just protecting my daughter's privacy in that sense. Like, if nothing's gonna come out of it, then there's no point of me telling you about her. But if we're gonna see each other, then I'll tell you about her. And typically it's not a problem to a lot of these people. They're like, it's cool, you know, they don't mind, like, or they like find it very surprising. There's one guy who was very surprised. I feel like he didn't take it very well. There's another guy who told me, like, when I'm with him, he wants me to just focus on being youthful instead of being a mom, which people might take differently, but to me that was kind of like, I don't know, it was hard because I am a mom, and he knows about my custody arrangement, so he's like, he knows that I can only hang out with him when I don't have my daughter, which I guess is fair for him to say, like, when I'm with him to forget about that, but it's hard to forget about that when that's like a big part of my life. And I guess just these things, they made me realize certain things. Like, I love being a mom, but people around me make it my whole personality. Especially people who know me personally, especially family members or friends, they kind of make it my whole personality. It's tough. I feel like many women experience this. The moment you become a mom, that's all you are, a mom. Everything people knew about you beforehand just out the window, disappeared. I understand that my daughter is now a part of me, so yeah, like I said, she's a big part of my life. So it's hard to not focus on that so much when she's constantly around, right? When she is my top priority and when everything I do affects her. So I completely understand why people might make it my whole personality, but it just makes me feel so restricted. Tying back to my struggles, it's hard to do things because I'm a mom. It's hard to work, it's hard to go to school because I'm a mom. When it comes to like my own goals, it's like things that people might be like, a mom shouldn't be doing that. You know, as a mother, you should be home with your baby. You should be taking care of your kids. And that's true, but this is going back to how I feel like I can't take care of myself sometimes. Now, some of my goals that I want to do that might not be certainly ideal. So I definitely want to go back to school, which will be hard with my daughter. I want to start teaching. Now those two, I've already planned the timeline a little bit, that when I'm financially able to move out, oh, that's the other thing, I want to move out with my daughter. By then she'd be old enough to start attending school. That might help me go back to school. It gives me a little bit of time to do that. Another thing I really want, I talk about it a couple of times, not a lot, but I really want to learn how to ride a motorcycle. About a year ago, I took the MSF course, but I got kicked out because I was too short, so I kept dropping the bike, and it made me realize that I'm probably gonna be a slow learner when it comes to riding, and it's probably gonna take me a lot of tries, much longer than other people, because I'm already at a disadvantage being so short. I'm 4'11". Now I can't flat foot any bikes at all. A lot of people recommend the Honda Ground for me, and I've done my own research, so I think it is ideal. I see a lot of like other short riders like my height start out on that, and now they ride comfortably on other bikes. So my goal is to eventually buy myself a Honda Ground, learn how to ride, then move up to a sport bike. But the other thing about riding is that every time you ride, you're kind of putting your life at risk. It's definitely very dangerous. You have to consider like how it would affect your life. Now, if I happen to be in a very bad accident, then I'm just gone. I'm gone like that. And it's really hard to think about it like that, but it's like reality. You have to consider how dangerous it is. So that might not be something, that's something like people might not see as ideal in my life. I also want to travel. I talk about this quite a bit. I took a solo trip to LA and I really enjoyed it. On my 2-hour drive back from my dates that I talked about, it made me realize like, damn, I love driving so much. I should plan a road trip. I mapped out this entire road trip that I wanted to do eventually in my life, but it's also just not ideal. My parents, especially since I'm still living with them, because they're sort of traditional, it's like, I feel like me traveling like that, they might view it as like a bad thing, just because when I did go to LA, they didn't really approve of it. I left without telling them, and to be fair, I left to get a tattoo, so that's another thing that they didn't approve of. I spent a total of I think 3 days in LA. That was a moment where I felt the disappointment of my parents, and it's really hard to want to take these trips while I'm still with my parents, living with them, which I don't understand, because my mom is always telling us, don't marry young, you know, live your life, travel the world, and now that I kind of want to travel, it's all of a sudden a problem. So that's just another thing that's kind of hard. Ever since I switched majors to philosophy and I went through my whole pregnancy and had my therapist, that moment in my life kind of changed me as a person, and I start to view things differently. I prioritize different things now. I want to really enjoy life now. I really want to love myself and I want to make myself happy, but it's just so hard to do all of that without feeling judged because I am a mom. I feel like a lot of this definitely comes with my age. I am 21, turning 22 in 2 months, a month and a half, so I feel like I'm still fairly young, and that's why I'm kind of like ambitious, spontaneous. I want to go on adventures. I want to do all these things that I haven't done yet in life. I feel like these are certain things like young adults would experience, right? But it's just like, because I'm a mom and a lot of people attach that to who I am as a person, it's like, you're a mom, why do you want to do these things? Your focus should be taking care of your child, right? I know that this is the consequences of my actions. It has affected so many areas in my life now. Like, I talk about it a lot. School, I can't go to school. I know that I made this decision, and if I could go back in time, I wouldn't change it. I would make the same choices. And I understand, like, I chose this, I did this to myself, right? But it's irreversible. I believe everything happens for a reason. If these things didn't happen to me, I probably would not be the person I am today. I would say I love the person I am today. I had to go through these hardships in life in order to find myself, right? So I wouldn't change anything in my life. I think about it sometimes and I'm like, oh, I wish that didn't happen. Like, I definitely have regrets. I wish when I first started college that I wasn't a business major. I wish that I focused on school more when I first started college so that my GPA isn't so low. There's nothing I can do about that, right? I felt like I had to be a business major to realize that business isn't what I actually wanted to do. For a while, I thought that business was my ideal career path because everything else just didn't seem appealing to me. I wanted money and I wanted something that support my independent life. That's the one thing I wanted a lot when I first moved out of my my parents' home for college, I wanted to be very independent. So that's why I chose business, because I felt like a lot of business related jobs, it would work ideally for someone who wants an independent life and someone who wants money, right? I didn't want to get in the medical field. It just didn't interest me. So I was like, you know, business seems kind of fun. I definitely liked it, but it just wasn't for me. I didn't understand all the concepts of it. And to be fair, I didn't study. I didn't really try hard enough. I feel like if I tried, I could have gone through with it, but I didn't try because I didn't care about school. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have found what I was passionate about. And I'm pretty sure now what I want to do is become a teacher, which doesn't make a lot of money and doesn't really support the independent lifestyle per se. But I worked in a classroom setting before. I loved it. I worked at a high school, and that just kind of confirmed my choice for me. Like, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to work in schools. Growing up, I've always wanted to become a teacher. Ever since I was very young, like since kindergarten, I've always considered becoming a teacher. I loved it. And I hated who I was. I was a teacher's pet. I know I was probably very annoying, but I loved it. In 6th grade, my teacher had me helping her with a lot of things. I graded a lot of assignments, and it was all very fun. I loved it all. I loved it all. And so I'm pretty set on becoming a teacher now. I'm even considering a job and becoming a paraprofessional, just because I can get back into that school setting. And I have a friend who's a paraprofessional and he likes it a lot. So if I can't go to school, I think that's what I would do in the meantime. And so although I thought I wanted something for my life and it didn't turn out to be true, you know, I have this other option. I feel like that's something you should consider a lot after graduating from high school. As like kids and young adults, it's definitely hard to know what you truly want right away when there's all of this pressure, whether it be from like your family, society. There's a lot of pressure. I definitely get it, especially even pressure from school, your high school. Teachers, peers, everybody wants you to do well. And it's like, I completely get that pressure because everyone's been through that phase before. And I guess it's like that confusion or that sense of regret. And so they just want people to not make the same mistakes as they did. But I feel like that's kind of unavoidable. I feel like sometimes you have to make certain mistakes in your life in order to fully understand yourself, fully understand where all that pressure is coming from. Something I kind of talk about a lot is rejection. If you don't experience a lot of rejection in your life, then yes, the first couple of rejections that you get will definitely be hard. Whether it be getting rejected from schools, getting rejected from jobs, getting rejected romantically, or even in friendships, things like that, it will definitely be rough, which is why I'm glad I was kind of bold and I got rejected so many times romantically when I was still very young, because I handled college rejections very well and I handled job rejections extremely well. I didn't even know that some people stress about that. I did not care at all about jobs. I was just focusing on the money. So if they didn't want me, I just moved on. And I didn't think about it like that at all. And that's something I like about myself, the way I'm able to accept rejection. So I feel like certain things people have to go through in order to understand that. I feel like we're kind of getting off topic now. It's been a very long time. Oh geez, I'm so sorry. I think I'm done talking about everything I wanted to. I got through my list. Before I end the video, I just want to say really quickly, I love people who are nice. It requires nothing for you to be kind to others, so please be kind to others, especially strangers. Just because you're feeling down doesn't mean you have to take it out on other people. When it comes to negativity, I feel like sometimes negative energy is much more powerful than positive energy, and it can affect a lot of people in your life. So just be very careful about that. It costs nothing to be kind, so please be kind to people. And yeah, that's the end. Thank you.